Hello there. Welcome to Talking Balearics with me, Martin Makepeace in Ibiza.
And me, Richie Pryor, on the witness protection scheme in Mallorca.
I
found a light today.
I thought last week you came across very well. It showed your best side as well.
Yeah, commented on by a few people, to be perfectly honest, Mark. But and good to have to hear that so many people are actually listening to what we're talking about, which is great.
I was amazed at the listening figures for last week, Richie.
Yeah.
I think, is it us or was it the subject of the conversation last week? I'm not so sure.
It might have been. But good subject to talk about this week, Mark.
I've got a few things for us this week, mate. I've got FITUR, that massive gravy train in Madrid. A lot of things came out of that, Rich. I've got a new hotel opening in, it kind of goes in what you said last week about your Mexico gig. It follows on from there. I've also got a big name has just been announced for UNVRS, the new version of Privilege and Coup, the previous biggest club in the world, and a bit of gay pride, because I know you like a bit of gay pride, Rich, as well. So we've got a bit of that, mate. So
okay.
What about you? Richie? What you got for me?
Oh, well, I concentrate solely on FITUR. That's what you told me.
Yeah.
So I've concentrated solely on that, but I'm happy to listen to your other things as well. No worries.
Go on, mate. Fire away.
Well, for those who don't know about FITUR, there are three main tourist fairs for the European market. That's obviously the World Travel Market in London, which normally happens in November. FITUR, which happens in Madrid normally in January. And the ITB, which happens in Berlin in March. Those are the three main ones for European markets, although people do travel from all over the world to go to those markets. And obviously, being in Madrid, FITUR is one that we would try and concentrate on, maybe more than even the world travel market, to be honest, because it does really affect our islands and what happens to our islands. Interestingly enough, I think one of the main things to come out was the announcement by the President Margaret Prohens of the 1.12 billion euros to be spent on tourism, sustainability and modernisation of the Balearics.
I thought that was a big announcement, Rich, wasn't it? I mean, just to put it into a bit of context, if you look at the touristic figures for Balearics, Spanish are way above everywhere else. Especially in Ibiza. I think it's the same in Mallorca as well, Richie, isn't it? So our first travellers or tourists these days are Spanish, local tourists. So that's why FITUR in Madrid is probably, arguably, as you said, the most important trade fair of the year. Of the big three. So what's the 1.2 billion going to be spent on, Rich? Do you know?
Well, they haven't actually announced it yet.
There you go.
It's going towards sustainability. What I did find interesting when I sort of delved into the numbers was that 260 million euros comes from the EU Next Generation funds, and 860 million comes from the tourist tax revenue, which is quite interesting. So I would take from that is that's money that hasn't yet been spent on sustainability, which obviously what it was there to do. If you remember, the tourist tax came in since 2016. So if they've built up a slush fund of 860 million, why aren't they doing more, to sort of get this sustainability under control?
Well, it's a bugbear that me and you both had over the last, nearly 10 years, nearly decade. I mean, I was against the tourist tax, but if it's here, and it looks like it's been introduced all over the world now as well, so it's going to stay. Let's not argue the point over that. But we do need more transparency. And I totally agree. I mean, can you remember a few weeks ago when I said that San Antonio had announced that they're spending 1 million euros of the tourist tax on looking for illegal touristic blocks and things like that as well? It's all a bit vague, Rich, isn't it? That's what I don't like about it. I mean, I'm all for sustainability, but these words are thrown around willy-nilly and they're not really backed up. That's what I don't like.
Well, there's two sides to the story. Obviously, the money is a huge amount of money, and you're right. Yes, we need to see more of where this money is being spent. I think we touched on before, you and I, when we spoke, that why not have a big, massive. I don't know what it's like in Ibiza, but in Mallorca, when you arrive in Mallorca, there's a big screen as you come down the level down towards where the luggage is. Why not have someone like Rafa Nadal, for instance, who is one of the most famous sons in Mallorca, saying, "Hi, welcome to my island. There is a tourist tax, but we just want you to be aware of that. We are passing on the sustainability of the islands for the future. for our children's children, our children's children's children. And this is what we spent the money on. And there could be pictures down that big walkway. There could be, a video of what's taken. As you say, be more transparent. Tell the people what the money's being spent on.
Absolutely. I mean, because I've got no idea. Listen, I think me and you are pretty clued up with our ears to the ground, and we talk about it a lot, but I can't be quite tangible. Prohens, Rich, Margaret Prohens, she's the president of the Balearic government. How is she being received in Mallorca? What's the word on the street?
Well, to be honest with you, obviously, don't forget she's working in a minority government. Sometimes in a majority, sometimes in a minority, depending where Vox are at any one particular time. Do you know what I mean? Because that's one of the things we're dealing with, both on the Balearic front and also in quite a lot of the town halls across the island as well. So I don't think people are saying she's doing a bad job. Obviously, we had, I can't remember, it was 14 years of socialism, I think it was. I can't remember exactly how many years of socialism it was. But so, there's been a change. Obviously, not in a majority, but there is a change happening. So I don't see her doing a bad job. I just think that, you're dealing with a lot of issues, and this sustainability issue is a big, big thing that's, people want to see happening. But when I say that, what I would like to point out, and I don't know if this is happening in Ibiza, but we seem to be spending a hell of a lot of money on our airport and our ports in order to, what I see as greeting more people, But I mean, I was shocked when I walked through at Palma Airport last week. Upstairs, the whole of upstairs in where is departures, where would you normally walk through the duty free and the passport control, etc., and the security, is completely and utterly been demolished.
Yeah, I saw that.
There was dust everywhere, mate. And so you're thinking, blimey, what there was diggers in there. There was everything you could mention. Now, when you pass through underneath, because now you pass through underneath, it's great. The new security system, what they put together, is great. The walk is a bit of a wonder.
Always has been, though, Rich, hasn't it?
I think it's going to get worse for some people, to be perfectly honest. But so with that in mind, it doesn't look to me that, whilst on the one hand they're saying, well, we're going to spend all this money on sustainability, that's great, but on the other hand, we're going to bring in more people. The two and two don't really go together.
It never has gone together, because you've got Iena and you've got Port bragging about they've got record numbers coming into Ibiza and to Mallorca, and then on the flip side you've got people carrying placards in the street saying there's too many people in Ibiza and Mallorca. The two don't marry at all. Now, what is sustainability? That's what I'd like to say, because we use this word a lot, but no one quite knows what sustainability is in the Balearics. Is it cap the tourists? Is it stop the cars? Is it no more building? We don't know what it is. And that's what I don't particularly like about it. I think it's just hyperbole. It's hot air. Until we actually put some meat on the bone, I'm not sure whether we're going to get any sense out of anyone for it. Anyway, let's move on, mate, because talking about the tourist tax, the Parador in Ibiza, I mean, I wrote about it probably last year, celebrating the fact that it was going to open last summer, and I was really happy because there's no cranes. Guess what, Richie? It's not open, and it doesn't look like it's going to open this summer either, because they've found another leak. Now, it has taken 20 years, Rich, 20 years of building this Parador. It's right on the top of Dolt Villa, which is the old town of Ibiza. It's an iconic, it's a UNESCO World Heritage Site. They've put the Parador right at the top. It's absolutely amazing. It's fantastic, but it's not open. Now, my question to you, Rich, this is a government-sponsored, funded hotel. It's run by Tour España, Tour España, which is basically the big umbrella for the tourist in Spain. Do you think if this was a private enterprise, it would have taken 20 years, Rich?
Well, probably not, of course, Mark. I would say to the uneducated ones, which include me actually in this, explain what a Parador is.
Owned by the government, they're hotels. They're very specific. They have to be built in places of national interest. So they're built in like cathedrals, or there's one in Tenerife, for instance. I went to the one in Tenerife where it's built near the volcano. That's a Parador. So you've got any old town, any cultural heritage site, that's where you'll probably find a Parador. They are run by the Spanish government. They're not particularly expensive, although word on the street, surprise, surprise, that Ibiza's Parador is going to be the most expensive in Spain. Funny that, isn't it? So they are lovely places, but I just scratch on my head. I think we're going to have another year without this Parador, and I think we're just getting towards the end of our tether in Ibiza. I mean, it's just mismanagement. They're saying there's a water leak. I understand that, Richard. There are always problems, but 20 years, 2 decades to build a hotel.
And who's it being built by, Mark? Is it being built by a local builder, or is it something that's coming from the outside?
It's built by contractors who are contracted by Tour España, so it's been totally funded off the island. Yeah, so that's the most important point. So really, the Ibiza government haven't got. I'm not blaming the Ibiza government here at all, because they've got no jurisdiction. What I'm saying is, it's just baffling. Would this happen anywhere else? I just think it's just a really bad example of how not to do things. I think 2 decades waiting for this hotel, because it will be a jewel in the crown, Richie. I think it will be amazing. I think it will attract certain type of people who want to get involved in all the things that the Balearic government want. The Parador will attract those type of tourists, yet we're still waiting. Anyway, bit of a rant over, Rich. Back to you.
27 million, apparently, I've been told is the cost of this Parador in Ibiza. 27 million euros.
Yeah, I mean, because there's no car parking anywhere, they've actually gone down and they've built this amazing car park where you go under the old town and then a lift takes you up to the Parador. So no doubt this Parador hotel, as I said, it's a state-sponsored hotel, will be incredible. But let's just get the thing open, please. I think we're just losing patience.
Yeah, I noticed that the Federation of Hoteliers has mentioned that quite a few more hotels have been opened in the winter than before, which is good news, and obviously more to continue into next year. I noticed also that United Airlines had said that they're increasing their flights by 50% into Mallorca from New York, and will continue on for another month, which I think is good news as well.
So do you notice the North American accents these days, Rich, like we do over here?
More. Yeah, a lot more.
Because you never used to get them back in the day, but now we get a lot of North Americans in Ibiza. I think it's a real emerging market. It's changed the dynamic as well. I think we spoke about it before, didn't we? It's changed the dynamic as well, because the Americans don't tend to take second-rate things, and it's up the ante over here anyway.
And also a lot of Americans looking to get married here as well, I've been told, from wedding planners that I've spoken to over the last few months. Another thing to mention also, when we were talking about sustainability and crew airports and ports, thing to note about the cruise ships. Next year there'll be 541 cruise ships, bringing in a total of 1.8 million people into Palma next year. Obviously, this is another thing that people complain about, because obviously the ships are so big. Apparently, there's a stat company called Ibistat.
Ibistat, yeah, that's the one. Is the Balearics.
It says that the passengers that disembark only spend 35 euros on the island. I would say 35 euros is actually quite good, isn't it?
Not bad, yeah. It's not bad.
Per head, to be perfectly honest. And when you think about these people are here less than 24 hours, sometimes only a morning, sometimes they just spend the morning and then they leave again. I don't think that's bad. That's 63 million euros that's going into the government coffers. Also, on top of that, then you've got to think about all the employment that this creates in and around the port. They take people out on excursions, so they need the coach companies. Taxis pick them up and take them into Palma. The restaurants and the bars will benefit from those people being there. I don't think it's a bad thing. I think a lot of people are saying, 5,000 people on one huge ship is bringing in a lot of pollution. On the one hand, which you can I suppose agree with, but once this goes back to the economics and the sustainability, you've got to put the two together and decide which is worse. Really, to be honest with you, I noticed also that the Federation of Hoteliers also mentioned that 1 in 5 people in the Balearics are employed in the tourist industry. Think about that. I think we all know at least one person who's employed in tourism in our immediate circle, don't we?
Well, I know most of my people, in Ibiza, it's not quite Mallorca, because Ibiza, we rely more or less 99% on tourism. I mean, people will say we don't, but I will beg to differ. The cruise, the interesting about the cruises, Rich, there, it's a real political hot potato over here, because have you seen the size of those new cruise boats that are coming? They are absolutely enormous.
5,000 people.
Enormous. I mean, I think it was the Virgin cruise I saw last year, and I couldn't believe how big it was. I think pollution's the main problem. €35 spent per person. Quick question: how many euros do all-inclusive people spend in a day? That's what I'd like to know on the island, and not in the hotel. I would say that'd be zero, wouldn't it? So I think 35 is not a bad return, really. Now, Richard, you stayed. Where did you stay in Mexico? Remind the listeners where you stayed in Mexico again.
I stayed at the Palladium Hotels, which is based in Playa de las Mujeres.
Yeah,
owned by the Matuti Group.
Yeah, well, the Matutis group, Abel Matutis Jr., who's like the president of that group, he was very vocal in the FITUR. They're not backwards in going forwards, the Matutis group, anyway. Now, don't forget, the Matutis group are very strong in Ibiza. They own Ushuaia. They own the old Fiesta, is now Palladium Group. They've bought the new UNVRS club, which I'll come on to in a minute, because it all goes into one. Now, Ushuaia, which is probably one of the most famous hotels in Ibiza. I know you've heard about Ushuaia, which is in Playa in Bossa, a live music venue, very, very political as well, because they turn it basically into a live music venue from a hotel. They've got a hotel next door to it called the Ushuaia Tower. Now, they're changing that now, and I think this is quite interesting, actually. They're changing it to the Unexpected Hotel, it's called, the Unexpected Hotel. Now, why is this important? Because they're opening in Ibiza and they're opening in Dubai. Yeah. So if you look at the synergy between certain places at the moment, everyone seems to be opening in Ibiza and Dubai. So it seems to be that they're the two places that people are really looking at to make some money. So the Unexpected Hotel, I thought Ushuaia Tower was a really good concept, but they're changing over to that. And I've seen the rooms, I've looked at the designs, and it's really top end, Rich. It's going to be it might be 5-star, but it's a 4-star at the moment. It's going to take that area to a different level. Now, me and you are always talking about the organic growth of the Balearics. This is going to take it to a different stratosphere once again. So watch out for that. Also, going into Mr. Matutis, he came out with something at FITUR saying basically that Ibiza is a real problem, because if we're not careful, we're going to be saturated. And I think that's quite rich coming from him, actually, considering that what the business that they run. He's not coming up with any solutions, though, as well. And also, I would argue, Rich, that this massification of tourism, it's not like the Canaries and the Balearics, because he references the Canaries as well. The Balearics, what do we have, Richie? We've said this often. What do we have? 3 months, 4 months, I would say.
Or maybe now.
Yeah, 4. Usually it used to be 10 weeks over here, but it's probably more like 14 weeks we have over here as well. So we only really have a problem in Ibiza for 14 weeks of the year. So I would say that we need to start talking less about the problems and more about solutions.
Yeah, and I think that comes back to I don't know if you heard the tourist tax at the moment. There has been no talk of, there has been talk of increasing the tourist tax. No news has come out yet. What I'm hearing is that there's possibly going to be an increase in high season, June, July, August, September, which I think makes sense. If you've got the people there, people are coming, you might as well do it. I basically would take it away for the rest of the time to try and encourage more people to come out of season when there isn't a tourist tax. And use that as a tool to try and bring more people in.
You've blogged about it a few times, Rich, haven't you? I know that. And also, didn't you say in one of your blogs, get rid of the winter, get rid of tourist tax in the winter? Because they're trying to increase tourism low season, great. And let's focus on the 6 months, and maybe overly focus on the 3 months, mid-June to mid-September, where people can afford pay a little bit more. And also tell us what you're using it for, guys, because we're still not sure. I know we'll go back to what we said before, but please inform us.
And charge children. They don't charge children. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Every foot is a passenger. Do you know what I mean? Or every 2 feet is a passenger, basically. Do you know what I mean? So charge children. I think it's children under 16 don't pay. It's madness. I would say get rid of it in the winter time. Encourage more people to come out of season in the winter. And then if you want to hike it in the summer, well, so be it. It's going to be a sweet spot where it's going to get a bit silly. I agree. Do you know what I mean? So you've got to keep it within reason. But I read in the UK a couple of weeks ago, even the UK are thinking of bringing in a tourist tax.
I think it was Edinburgh. I wrote, was it Edinburgh? I think someone said they're bringing it in as well.
This is the government bringing it into the UK. Edinburgh, I think, already has it.
Right,
as far as I'm aware. This is the government thinking, well, hang on a minute. Obviously they're trying to bring back money wherever they can right now. What a great way of bringing it back in, into their coffers. How they're going to create sustainability there. I really don't know. But anyway, let's see.
We've come back to tourist tax again, haven't we? Two things just to finish on from me, mate. First of all, not Gay Pride. It's called Pride Week. Pride Week, 7th to the 14th of June, 2025. Obviously, Ibiza is well known for that market. The pink pound has been strong over here for many, many years. Probably not so much as it used to be. I mean, I think Mykonos has probably overtaken a little bit for that market, for the Pride market. But Ibiza's come back really strong with the Pride market. 7th to the 14th of June, 2025. They're expecting up to 15,000 people to come over for that week, Rich, which is fantastic business. As I said, it's a strong currency, and long may it continue, because we've got historic links with the Pride market.
And it's June. It's more or less low season, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, I think that I've got to say, I think 7th to 14th of June is a fantastic week in the Balearics, mate, because it's not peak season, but you still get the weather, you still get all the benefits, and the prices are quite low as well, aren't they? So it's a really one. And also, just to finish off, UNVRS, Rich, the old coup and privilege, used to be the largest club in the world. I'm not sure if it still is in it. That was certified by the Guinness World Book of Records, and they have just announced Carl Cox to do a residency for the summer on a Sunday, which is absolutely massive. Carl Cox, regardless of anything, is probably the biggest name in electronic music. Probably him and David Guetta are up there with the tops, and Cox doing a residency at UNVRS is absolutely massive. So that's going to bring a lot of people over.
Am I right in saying that Carl Cox closed space as well?
Yeah, well, it is, and it's a little bit of a bugbear of mine, because Carl Cox said he would never, ever work at the new High, because that's the old space. But UNVRS is owned by the same people that own High. So it's a little bit of a grey area.
So he's gone from space to the universe, Mark.
He has, absolutely. But, it's massive. What we've got to understand Ibiza is, as we saw in COVID, how important the clubbing industry is to the island. It's massive, Rich. When we didn't have it, it was like a nice nirvana, but we missed out on an unbelievable market. And UNVRS is going to raise the bar, and having the biggest names in the world. I'm presuming David Guetta will go there as well. It's not been announced yet. That's a presumption from me. I presume he will go there. So it's just going to get better and better.
And what about Farmer Calvin Harris? Is he must be making it, surely.
Well, he at the moment, the funny thing is, the dynamic is at the moment they're playing Ushuaia. Okay, in the daytime, and he gets paid. But Ushuaia, High, and UNVRS are all the same company, so I'm sure there will be some crossovers there as well. So they're being clever about it. They're drip feeding the information. But I can't comment on Calvin Harris. But Carl Cox for 2025, as we say. Here we go.
And also, when's the actual club opening, Mark? Is there an opening date yet?
Yeah, well, Elro, which again is another big club night, which I know that you love, Richie. You're always there with your sparklers and your...
All over it, mate. All over the Elro.
Your Dayglow T-shirt.
Love a bit of Dayglow.
He's Elro, which is an amazing night. It's kind of a massive carnival
massive
night.
Here as well.
Yeah. Where did he play in Mallorca?
Sonfuster, which is the fairground where you have the fairground in Easter time. It's a big car park, really, to be perfectly honest. It's converted into. But the last Elro had 18,000 people here.
Wow.
Yeah, that was in September, I think it was.
Yeah, so they're going to do a weekly residency. So they're doing a weekly residency, and they start in June. It's kind of early June, and that's on sale now. So all those people saying, when's UNVRS going to open? It's opening in June for sure. And I went past there the other day. They are really cracking on with the work, mate. So,
sounds good.
Yeah, that's
not a place you and I have been frequenting. Well, because you and your little, your celebrity world. You know what I mean?
Well, now I'm a celeb, mate. I'll be in the VIP every night, won't I?
Of course.
And that's it for me, Richie. That's all from me this week.
And me, Mark, and me.
That's a pleasure, mate. Thank you very much. Now, I'm not here next week, Rich, because I'm on the slide.
Oh, there you go. So last week you were having a go at me for going away, and now you're not here next week. How about that?
It's our annual boys ski trip, and Julian Cobby, who runs SIBO, it's his big birthday week, so we're all going. And he's a fello gooner like you, isn't he?
He's a big gooner like me. Yeah.
I've got Paul Richie's there, another gooner. John Davey, another gooner there. So I'm away with the gooners. I think
is Kieran Tobin arriving?
I can't confirm or deny that at the moment, but if he does, it'll be all off. So anyway, I'm in Ischgl in Austria skiing next week. So I'll see you in 2 weeks' time, Richie.
All right, take care.
Always a pleasure, mate.
Cheers, mate. Take care.
Have a great week.
And you. Bye-bye.
Make me dance.